everyone, welcome back to my channel and today's Christmas edition. So today we're going to be making a Christmas decoration. Now there is a PDF of the template in the description below, I hope. This is my template which I am going to draw around and then cut out. So this is just showing you how it will all fit together and make a cube. This is my third design, I think. So hopefully it is improving with each design. So just line it up on your paper, then draw around it in pencil. Now I am adding a little extension onto the end of where the lines will be scored, so those dotted lines, just so that I know where to score those lines, as you'll see in a minute. And that's the marking for cutting for the tab, as you see here, which is what it will hang up by. So you don't have to draw these lines. I'm just drawing them in really so you can see them. So this is a nifty little device which I bought on Amazon. It looks like a biro, but it isn't. It has ends on it which you can use to score, and it has different sized ends. Now if you don't have a scoring tool, what you can use is a biro that is out of ink, but you must make sure it's out of ink. So then I'm just scoring the lines, and this will make it easier to fold the decoration when we come to that part of the construction. So if you find it hard to see where your scoring is, you can just do a faint pencil line there. Now I am going to cut this one out just roughly, but you don't have to. And if you're doing a watercolour background, then you probably won't want to cut this one out because your watercolour background can go over the edges. But I'm just doing it for ease here so that you can see it easier. And what I'm now going to do is to draw the individual images. You need an image on each of these sections. Now if you're going to do a background, you might want to put masking fluid on those images. So you would draw your images first, then put the masking fluid on, and then let that dry completely, then do your wash. And then when the wash is completely dry, you can remove the masking fluid and then carry on as I'm doing now. But you will have to mask out your images first. But this is just a simple one with no background. And I will show you one in the end that I did with a wash using salt to give that, that lovely effect of snow. Just drawing a little image, just anything you like. I'm just doing these ones because I've done these sorts lots of times before, so they're quick to do and simple. So you can copy any of my images or make your own. Now this is a nifty way of making a bauble. I have drawn it in, but as you'll see, I do correct the hanging part of the bauble in the end. But what you really need is to reserve or preserve that highlight there. So I'm not going to put any paint on that. I'm starting painting up here with the red. Again, as you would do with all watercolours, you need lots of layers. So I think I've probably only done 2 or 3. It's not, it's more like my sketches than if I was doing a devoted finished painting. But I think that's enough for this because it's just something quick and simple. And here I've started at the top and worked down so that I don't get my arm in the way and smudge it. However, I do tend to like to do all one colour, so I would do all the bits that were red first with the first coat, and then all the bits that, if I've got lots that are the same colour, do them in the next coat or layer. Now this is a parcel, and you'll see at the end I have made the different sides different colours. And this is a little Christmas stocking, and then a candy cane, and then the bauble. The bauble is slightly different. This is a deodorant cap, and what I've done is I've put paint around the edge and then just added water to give it that more translucent effect. And there are lots of videos out there on how to do that. The only thing I would say is if you're using like a deodorant top or any cap, the paint will adhere much better if you sand it a little bit so that the paint can adhere, because it tends to be a bit shiny plastic. Coming in here with the gingerbread man and giving him some shadows. You want to make some definition just to make your things come alive a little bit more. Now the parcel, I'm darkening up this side. I've decided where my light is, so which is the lightest side, which is coming from the top. So this is the dark side. Then on this, again, I've decided which is the dark and light sides, but that will come in later when I put on my shading coats. Here I've redrawn the top of the bauble, adding some darker red to the inside of the bow where there's more shadow, and also to give it some shaping. And here I'm just lifting a bit of paint to give it a highlight. Wants to be a subtle highlight. And shading in with a darker red and then some yellow ochre and some cerulean blue just to give the shadow on the white. People often say, how do you make white? Well, this is the way I do it. I tend to like to mix yellow ochre and cerulean and let them mix together themselves with a wash. And here, this side will be slightly darker than the top where the light's coming on it. And then carrying on and filling in the ribbons. Now I'm going to erase some of the lines. You must make sure that your watercolour is completely dry before you erase lines, or else you'll have a mess. Adding some more low lights just in the ribbon there to give it a more three-dimensional look. And then I'm adding a gold pen to make the wrapping paper look more realistic and give it some interest. And then also a gold pen around the bow, and then the same for decorations on the bauble. And then a white pen just to add decoration on the stocking, highlights on the candy cane, and then decoration on the gingerbread man. This Posca pen, I think it's quite old and the ink wasn't very opaque. And then some silver pen, and then I've even got some, I think it's bronze is the next colour. Now I'm outlining the images. You don't have to outline them. I've outlined this one. I don't think I did on the rest of mine. It does give it a completely different look, and it's just really up to you whether you want to or not. But I feel if you've outlined one, you really need to outline all of them. Makes them stand out better. When you come to do the fur, do like broken lines, not a solid line, because the fur will look more fluffy. Now with the candy cane, you don't have to outline it. Your brain will actually make the line there, Even though there's not a line where the white is, you will think you see one. Now I'm going to cut it out carefully. You can cut it out with a craft knife if you want, with a mat underneath, if you're happy doing it like that, or you can cut it with scissors. Now when you come to cutting the slot for the hanging tab, you will need to use a craft knife then, because it would just be very difficult to get in with scissors. So nearly there. Right, next I would cut the slot for the hanging tab, but I didn't. Next I bent all the sides up, so it's up to you, but it would just have been easier. Put the ruler against the line that you scored and then pull up. You want a ruler that's fairly thin. A metal ruler is even better, as long as it's hasn't got any thickness to it. My quilting rulers I don't use because they're just too thick. Although I used quilting rulers to actually make the 2-inch squares. This just makes it so much easier doing it against a ruler. Then fold things back again, because obviously they're folded the wrong way at the moment. So fold all your tabs and then your other folds to actually make the cube. And here you have your cube is beginning. Now, because I forgot to do the slot at the beginning, I have to do it now. Very thin, so you just do 2 cuts very close together. You might have to go over it a couple of times. Do be careful of your fingers with the knife, and always use a cutting mat underneath. And if you're a child doing this, or if you're letting your child do it, then please let the adult do this cutting bit with the knife. Now this is the little hanging tab, which is going to fit into the slot from the other side. This will be for your ribbon. So you will glue down these 2 sides and then glue them flat like that. It'll look like that. But first of all, I'm going to paint it. Now, the actual hole, you shouldn't really cut until after you've glued the bits together. I did it I don't know why I did it really, just to show you, maybe. But you really need a single hole punch as well for this. Now the paint's dried, and I'm going to just try it out again to make sure after the paint's on it still fits, because paint does add thickness. So yep, that still fits. So remember, I'll glue there. But because the ribbon I'm using has got gold edges, and the bow that I've drawn there has gold edges, I'm going to just adorn this with gold edges too, to match. Now, this is the ribbon. There is another way. You can push your ribbon through the slot, but if you use this way, then you will have to make your slot slightly smaller, because you only want it the size of the ribbon. Then you pull back the two sides of the ribbon and you glue the ribbon underneath. So that's if you didn't want to make the little hanging tab. And I do show you at the end of this video how you can do that with another Christmas decoration, not using your watercolour techniques, but just some Christmas paper. Now for glues, you can use a Pritt stick. I do that, but I usually get it all over my fingers. So I've just used some acrylic glue. This one's actually a glitter glue, but I didn't realise it's not got a lot of glitter in it. Just clean off the edge so that the glue can come out. It's very nice to have such a small nozzle because it makes it easier and more accurate. Now, if you haven't already punched your hole, then that will be easier in some ways. Pinch it together. I've got it on my fingers. I always get things on my fingers, so just try not to get that on your watercolour because it will take the paint off. Let's see, there's a bit of red paint on my finger there. Now, you want to leave that to dry before you do the next bit. So I'm going to just rest a weight on it. You could put a peg on it, just a laundry peg. That would be great. Clothespin in America. Now it's dry. So now I'm going to glue, and I'm going to glue the top side because it's going to go underneath. Don't glue the wrong side or else it won't work. Now the slot's going to go through, but it will be easier to do it from the other side. So I'll turn it over, trying not to get glue on my fingers. Push it through and then just press down. You can put some tape. If you want to put tape, try to use an acid-free tape because the acid can come through. I once put sellotape behind a picture and it came through within 2 weeks. But that was a very thin paper. So try to use acid-free tape. I have used masking tape on my ones, I have to admit, but I think it will, because this is fairly hard paper, it will take quite a while for the acid to come through and they'll probably all be shabby by then. Right, so now we're going to construct the box. Somebody asked me, oh, does the box open? Could you put things in it? Well, this one doesn't. You could make it so that it opens. If you do put things in, you've got to be aware that it could pull open because all the stress is on the top of it. So it could pull open. So if you're hanging on the tree, but try it out and see. Now I'm using masking tape here. It's a low tack masking tape, just to hold all the box together. And I often use masking tape for things like this. This is froggy tape. I did another one using green froggy tape, and that one actually is supposed to be less tacky, but it did pull off some paint. Maybe I just left it on too long. Then the final side, and it gets exciting because it's beginning to look like a cube now. There's one corner that's a bit odd and I'm not sure what I did there. I think it must have been in the scoring because it shouldn't be like that. It's the only one that's come out like this. So just be more careful with yours than I was with mine. Won't show at the end. Don't leave your masking tape on there too long. You're just long enough for it to dry. So here's the ribbon. Make sure you've got it the correct way round because mine only has gold bits on one side. Tie a knot, pull it tight. I don't know, the knot is always the bit that really annoys me because I think it looks scruffy, but I'm not sure how I could get rid of that. If you did it the other way with the ribbon, then you wouldn't have a knot if you didn't have the little tab. Gently, very gently remove your masking tape. I have speeded it up because I am very aware that this is a very long video. I normally like to try to do videos of 15 minutes or less. Sorry, this one just took me a long time. So this is showing all the different sides with the different pictures. And to get inspiration, just look at wrapping paper, look at Christmas cards, look at anything, and that will help you think about things. I can remember when I was making things in school for kids, I just used to write down, brainstorm anything about Christmas. Now this one, you see, I have put the gift in the wrong place. There's too much gap on one side. That's a gingerbread house. The candy cane again. Again, these are all quick ones. I was trying out different methods. Now I'm going to have a go at doing one with some Christmas card. It's quite a fine paper card. You could really do with something a little bit stronger, but never mind. This is what I had. I bought these pads from Hobbycraft. So I'm just drawing this out in ink just so that it will show up more for you. Again, marking where the other lines are going to come, because once you take your template off, you haven't got those. And again, I wouldn't draw these in, I'd just do them with the scoring pen. Now with this one, I'm going to use the method of just putting in a ribbon, no hanging tab. So measure your ribbon so that you know how big your slot's going to be. Now I'm going to cut the slot. See, I've got the mat underneath. You just do 2 lines very close to each other because you only want it to be a very small slot. This time you're bending it up, but this is going to be the way that it will fold. So you don't have to fold it twice. You don't have to fold it on one side, then turn it over and fold the other. And because this is a much thinner or less heavyweight paper, it folds really easily. So unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery and I thought it was carrying on, and I didn't film that bit of me actually gluing the bits together, but it's exactly the same as the previous one. And also I then filmed it so that it's slightly out of shot. Sorry. So I'm gluing this together. I've pushed the ribbon through, putting the masking tape on again. Don't leave it on for very long and really take it off carefully, because I found it tore more on this sort of paper because it's more lightweight than it did on my watercolour paper. So just gently remove. If it does take off a bit, then like with this one, I could go over with a red pen and just ink in any bits that were missing. And if it was different colours, then use either watercolour or something else. Now here, it's slightly over. Because this paper's thinner, the template has actually made that side too big. But it's just a simple thing to do, to just cut it off with some nail scissors. And there you have it. Now I'm going to add some ribbon. Now I've done this in the wrong order. of course. So the bit I'm doing now, I'm going to put 2 bits of ribbon on. This bit would be better if you did it after you've done the other piece, which will become more apparent what I'm talking about in a minute when I finish this one. So glue it right up to the edge. And then you're going to just carry on putting a little bit of glue down each side. You don't want too much, and probably the better glue for gluing the ribbon would be Aileen's tacky glue, because that is a really lovely glue for gluing fabric. And I didn't think of that until afterwards. So then glue that down. Make sure that the lines all match up. And you could leave it just like that with just 1 piece of ribbon on it, or you can put a second piece on, which is what I'm going to do now. Take your ribbon and cut just a tiny slit in the centre, the very centre. Then glue on the wrong side those 2 little tabs that you've cut. Then fit that, slot it into the hanging ribbon. And the reason I said that this is better if you do it this side, this bit first, is because then you cover it up with the other ribbon. But as I only thought of doing this while I was actually making the video, you know, you learn. Every time you do something, you learn. And I certainly learned then. I think that's what I love about art and crafts and, well, everything in life really. The next one you make will always be the best. I built a boat once, a mirror dinghy from a kit, and I thought the second one would be really good. I wouldn't make all the mistakes I made on the first one. Okay, and there's your finished box. And they just look really nice hanging on the tree. So I hope you've enjoyed watching that and watching me make all these different decorations, and that you will have a go. So I'll show you the ones that I've made so far. So this is the one that was my first one I made, and that was a different design. If you see that there's a cut in the top, it's done in 2 halves, which is quite fiddly. So I'm quite pleased I've changed the design. Now I'll show you about that gap that you can see with the Christmas pudding in a minute. Then, as you see, I've used some of the same images because I was just trying to do these quite quickly for my art group. And here's another one. This is the one that I did with the background. So I masked out the images, then I painted a wash when the masking was dry, and then put salt on it, so you get that lovely effect. And then I let that dry completely before I actually took the masking fluid off and painted the images. I like the teddy, he's one of my favourites, and the candle. The wreath is a bit far over to the left. These are all learning projects, so I'll know for next time. Wasn't so keen on the bell, wasn't so keen on the baubles on the top, but the bow on the bottom I quite liked. This one I did gingerbread house, then the familiar candy cane, familiar gingerbread man, present. Now look here, it's in totally the wrong place. That was because I made that side bigger because it wasn't fitting and put the present in the wrong place. So please learn by my mistakes, but you always learn when you make mistakes. Mistakes are great. Now this one, see, this was the first one I did, and I found that as I folded the paper over, well, it started off as 2 inches each square. By the time I got to the end, because of the thickness of the paper, there was a gap. So I have made in the template, it is the last one is slightly bigger. And this is one my daughter made. She came to my art group with me when they were all making theirs, and she made this one. So that one I really love because she made it. And she used a different ribbon, which is great. It is sort of a candy cane ribbon. And this is the final one that I made. I think I've made another 4 of these since then. They're quite quick to do because you don't have the painting, and so they look really nice. And you could have like 6 or something, or 4 on the tree, all the same, and just spread them out. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and that you will go on and make some yourself. And happy Christmas. And I will do more videos in 2026. I can't believe it'll be 2026 soon. So if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, as it just gives me a bit more enthusiasm to make more videos. So this is the template that I used, and the little hanging template. And this is the PDF that I'm hoping I will have managed to attach to the bottom of the video. So, see you next time. Take care. Happy Christmas. Bye.